Have you ever woken up in the middle of your life and realized you've been sleepwalking, not through your days, but through your entire existence? You followed the script: go to school, get a job, chase success, build a name. And yet, something inside you refuses to quiet down. A whisper, then a hum, now a roar, telling you this isn't all there is, that the world you've been living in isn't as solid as it once seemed, that the rules you obeyed without question might just be illusions dressed up as truth. This feeling isn't a flaw, it's a signal. You're not broken because you no longer fit into the boxes you once called home. You're not lost because the path ahead feels unfamiliar. In fact, what you're experiencing is one of the most sacred transformations a human being can undergo, the first tremors of awakening. And if you recognize even a flicker of this within you, hold on, because what you're about to understand could change everything. For years, you believed reality was fixed, that life was a straight line with clear milestones and predictable outcomes. You trusted the map handed to you by parents, teachers, society, never realizing the map was never the territory. You ate the menu, mistaking paper for nourishment. But now something has shifted. You catch yourself staring out the window, not daydreaming, but seeing, really seeing, the way sunlight hits a leaf, the silence between words in a conversation, the hollowness behind a forced smile. You're starting to notice the seams in the fabric of the real world. And that's not paranoia, that's perception sharpening. This is the first undeniable sign. You're no longer satisfied with surface-level living. You crave depth, meaning, authenticity. You don't just want to survive. You want to know why you're here, and that hunger, it's divine. It's your soul refusing to be silenced any longer. You're beginning to question the stories you were told about success, love, purpose, even time itself. And with each question, a layer of illusion peels away. Don't mistake this discomfort for failure. This is the price of clarity. The moment you stop accepting borrowed truths is the moment you step into your own power. You're not falling apart, you're falling into yourself, and yes, it's disorienting. Yes, people around you might not understand. They'll call you too sensitive or overthinking, because they're still asleep, and your awakening reflects a truth they're not ready to face. But that's not your burden to carry. What you're feeling is the friction between the old world and the new one rising within you, and that friction is sacred. It means you're alive, not just biologically but spiritually. You're beginning to sense that you are not separate from life. You are life, experiencing itself through eyes, hands, breath. You're not a passenger in the universe. You're the universe waking up to itself. And here's the promise: if you keep listening to that inner voice, if you honor this unrest instead of numbing it, you will discover a freedom most people never taste. Not the freedom of doing whatever you want, but the deeper freedom of knowing who you truly are. Beyond roles, beyond labels, beyond fear. This journey won't always be easy, but it will be real, and in a world full of people playing parts, choosing reality, even when it hurts, is the most revolutionary act of all. So if you felt this shift, if the ground beneath you no longer feels solid, don't run back to the dream. Lean in, breathe, trust the unraveling, because what's being born in you isn't chaos, it's consciousness. And it's calling you home. You don't just feel more. You feel everything, the joy that cracks your chest open, the grief that sits heavy in your bones, the quiet awe when the world falls still for no reason at all. Before you'd flinch from these waves, distract yourself, numb out, pretend you were fine. But now, something inside you refuses to look away. You're not running from the storm anymore. You're standing in the center of it, letting it move through you. And that's not weakness. That's the rawest form of courage. This is the second undeniable sign. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's your awakening speaking. You're no longer filtering life through the lens of should or shouldn't. You're allowing emotions to rise, breathe, and pass, without judgment, without panic. You've begun to understand that pain isn't your enemy, it's a messenger, a signal that something real is happening beneath the surface. And instead of shutting it down, you're leaning in, because deep down, you know truth only reveals itself when you're willing to feel it fully. That ache in your chest when you scroll through endless noise. It's not depression, it's your soul craving meaning. That sudden tear during a song, a sunset, a stranger's kindness. It's not fragility, it's your heart remembering its capacity to connect. You're not too much. You're finally enough to hold the full spectrum of human experience without collapsing. And in a world that rewards numbness, your willingness to feel is revolutionary. Your nervous system is expanding, not breaking, opening. Every time you choose presence over distraction, stillness over reaction, honesty over performance, you rewire your relationship with reality. You're no longer trying to control how you feel. You're learning to trust it, to let your inner weather move through you like wind through trees, without uprooting you, because you're starting to sense something profound. You are not your emotions. You are the space that holds them. And that space, it's vast, unshakable, infinite. This depth of feeling is your compass now. It guides you away from what drains you and toward what sets your soul on fire. You notice when a conversation feels hollow, when a job no longer aligns, when a relationship asks you to shrink, and instead of ignoring the discomfort, you listen, because you've realized that peace isn't the absence of pain, it's the presence of truth. And truth always resonates in the body before it forms in the mind. Don't let anyone convince you that getting over it is strength. Real strength is staying with it, staying with the uncertainty, staying with the raw, trembling vulnerability of being human in a world that demands armor. You're not falling apart, you're falling into alignment. Every tear, every quiet moment of overwhelm, every surge of inexplicable joy is proof that you're shedding the false self and stepping into your authentic core. And here's what no one tells you. The more you allow yourself to feel, the more resilient you become. Not because the pain disappears, but because you stop fearing it. You stop seeing emotion as a threat and start recognizing it as energy. You're intelligent, alive. It's not something to fix, it's something to follow. So when the world tells you to toughen up, remember this. Your sensitivity is your superpower. It's how you sense the unseen, love without conditions, and create from a place of truth. You're not here to be hard, you're here to be real, and in your realness, in your willingness to feel deeply, even when it hurts, you become a beacon for others still hiding in the shadows of their own hearts. Keep feeling, keep trusting, keep honoring the quiet signals within, because this depth you're experiencing isn't a detour, it's the path itself, and every time you choose to stay present with what is, rather than escape to what's easy, you prove one undeniable truth: you are not lost. You are becoming. You've started to notice something strange about time. It doesn't move the way it used to. Clocks tick, calendars flip, deadlines loom, but none of it grips you like it once did. You catch yourself lost in a single breath, watching dust float in a sunbeam, listening to the silence between heartbeats. Minutes stretch, hours dissolve, and in those moments there's no past to regret, no future to chase, only the electric fullness of now. This isn't distraction, it's revelation. This is the third undeniable sign. You're slipping out of the illusion of linear time and stepping into presence. You're no longer living for the weekend, the promotion, the someday. You're realizing that life isn't something you prepare for. It's something you're already in, right here, right now, and the more you sink into this truth, the more the old urgency fades, not because you've given up, but because you've woken up. Before, you measured your worth in milestones, what you'd achieved, what you'd accumulated, how far you'd climbed. But now, A quiet knowing rises within you, that none of it matters if you missed your own life while chasing it. You're beginning to see that someday is a trap, a mirage sold to keep you running in circles while the real gift, this breath, this moment, this aliveness, passes you by unnoticed, and you refuse to miss it anymore. You don't need more time, you need more presence. You don't need a better future. You need to stop abandoning the present. This shift isn't passive, it's rebellion. In a world obsessed with speed, productivity, and constant forward motion, choosing to be still is an act of defiance. Choosing to savor a cup of tea without checking your phone, choosing to walk without a destination, choosing to sit with someone without fixing, advising, or performing. These aren't small things. They're sacred acts of reclaiming your life from the tyranny of later. And here's the secret no one tells you. The present isn't just where life happens, it's where power lives. Every decision that truly matters, every act of courage, every spark of creativity, it all emerges from this still point. Not from the noise of your to-do list, but from the quiet clarity of now. When you stop racing toward a future self, you finally meet the self that's been waiting all along. The one who's already whole, already enough, already here. You might feel guilty at first, like you're wasting time by not doing, but that guilt belongs to the old program, the one that equated your value with output. You're upgrading now. You're learning that being is not the opposite of doing. It's the source of it. Action that flows from presence isn't frantic, it's focused, it's aligned, it carries a different kind of energy, one that doesn't drain you but fuels you. This is why the awakened mind doesn't chase time, it inhabits it. You're not trying to get through the day anymore, you're meeting it, fully, openly, without resistance, and in that meeting something miraculous happens. Life stops happening to you, and starts happening through you. You become a channel for clarity, calm, and creativity, not because you forced it, but because you stopped fighting the current. So when the world screams, hurry, you breathe. When the mind races to tomorrow, you return to your feet on the ground. When fear whispers you're falling behind, you remember there is no behind, there is only here. This isn't escapism, it's embodiment. And in a culture that trains you to live in your head, returning to your body, your breath, your senses is the ultimate homecoming. You're not losing time, you're reclaiming it, not as a resource to manage, but as a sacred space to inhabit. Stay here, not later, not soon, now, because this moment, this very one, is where your power lives, where your peace lives, where your truth lives. And if you keep honoring it, if you keep choosing presence over panic, you won't just find your life, you'll finally live it. You feel it now, the ground shifting beneath your feet. Not because you've lost your way, but because the old path no longer fits. The roles you played, the identity you wore like armor, the version of yourself you built to be accepted, it's all starting to crumble. And it's terrifying, not because you're failing, but because you're outgrowing. This isn't collapse, it's liberation in disguise. The truth is, you can't awaken without letting something die, not physically, but the false self. The one that performed for approval, hustled for worth, and silenced its own voice to keep the peace. That self served you once, it helped you survive, but now it's suffocating you, and your soul refuses to be buried any longer. So it's tearing down the walls, not to destroy you, but to set you free. You might look around and feel unmoored. Friends don't understand your silence. Family worries you've changed. Old ambitions feel hollow, like chasing smoke. You sit in rooms full of people and feel utterly alone. Not because you're disconnected, but because you're no longer pretending. And that loneliness, it's the birth canal of authenticity. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. Don't mistake this emptiness for loss. It's clearing. Like a forest after fire, what looks like ruin is actually preparation for new growth. You're not losing yourself. You're shedding the costume. Every time you say no to what no longer aligns, every time you walk away from a situation that asks you to shrink, every time you choose truth over comfort, you honor the deeper current rising within you. This isn't rebellion for its own sake. It's reverence for your own soul, and yes, it hurts. Letting go always does, but pain is not proof you're on the wrong path. It's proof you're releasing something that no longer belongs to you. The tighter you held onto that old identity, the more it defined you, the more it will ache to release it. But that ache is sacred. It means you're choosing real over familiar. You're choosing freedom over safety. You don't need to rebuild yourself from scratch. You never did. You only need to stop covering up who you've always been. Beneath the layers of expectation, fear, and performance, there's a core that's unshakable, unchanging, whole, and it's not something you create. It's something you uncover. This is why the world feels strange right now, because you're seeing it with new eyes that no longer filter reality through the lens of what will they think, or am I enough? You're beginning to sense that your worth was never up for debate. It was never earned. It was always yours, simply by existing. So when doubt whispers that you're losing everything, remember, you're not losing, you're making space. Space for truth, space for peace, space for a life that doesn't demand you betray yourself to belong. And to those who can't follow you into this new terrain, bless them and release them, not with bitterness, but with gratitude for the role they played in your story. But your story is evolving, and you owe no one an explanation for choosing your own light. This death of the old self isn't the end. It's the most honest beginning you've ever known, because now, for the first time, you're not living to be seen. You're living to be real, and in that realness, in that raw, unfiltered presence, you become unstoppable, not because you're perfect, but because you're finally free. Free to create, to love, to speak, to exist without apology. So let the old fall away, let the tears come, let the silence speak, because on the other side of this surrender isn't emptiness. It's you, not the version you thought you should be, but the one you were always meant to become. And that version doesn't need to prove anything. It simply is, and that is more than enough. You start noticing it everywhere. Patterns that feel too precise to be coincidence. A song plays on the radio with the exact words you needed to hear. A stranger says something that echoes a thought you've kept hidden for weeks. You think of someone, and they message you moments later. It's not magic, it's meaning, and it's not happening to you. It's happening through you. This is the quiet miracle of synchronicity. The universe whispering in a language only your awakened heart can understand. Before, you dismissed these moments as luck or chance, but now you feel their weight, their intention. You're no longer just moving through life, you're in dialogue with it, and every sign, every echo, every unexpected alignment is confirmation. You're on the path even when the path isn't visible. This isn't superstition, it's resonance. When you shift internally, when you release old fears, embrace truth, and align with your deeper self, the outer world begins to reflect that shift. Not because you manifested it like a wish, but because you've tuned your frequency to what's already real. You're no longer drowning in noise, you're listening, and in that listening, you start to see the invisible threads connecting everything. A bird's flight mirrors your mood. Rain falls the moment you surrender a burden. A book falls off a shelf open to the exact page your soul needed. These aren't random, they're responses. The universe doesn't speak in grand announcements. It speaks in whispers, in symbols, in quiet nudges that only the present mind can catch. And you're finally present enough to hear them. This is the fifth undeniable sign. You're no longer separate. You feel the pulse of life in everything. The trees, the wind, the silence between heartbeats. You sense that your thoughts aren't just yours. Your emotions aren't just personal. They're part of a vast, living intelligence that flows through all things. You're not an isolated drop in the ocean. You are the ocean, experiencing itself as a drop, and that changes everything. When you operate from this knowing, fear loses its grip, because you realize you're never truly alone. You're never truly lost. Even in your darkest hour, the universe is conspiring, not against you, but for you, not in the way you expected, but in the way you need. Sometimes it sends ease, sometimes it sends fire, but always, always, it sends what will awaken you further. Don't wait for a sign to trust yourself. You're already living inside one. Every time you choose courage over comfort, truth over approval, stillness over reaction, you send a signal back to the universe. And it answers, not with fanfare, but with alignment, with clarity, with moments so perfectly timed they can't be ignored. This is how you know you're awake. You stop demanding proof and start recognizing presence. You stop chasing meaning and start seeing it everywhere, because meaning isn't something you find out there. It's something you embody in here, and when you do, the world becomes a mirror, a teacher, a companion. So when doubt creeps in, and it will remember this, the fact that you're noticing these connections at all means you're tuned in. You're not imagining it. You're remembering that you belong to something vast, something wise, something that has been guiding you all along, not with a map, but with a feeling. Trust that feeling, follow that whisper, lean into the pattern, because you're not just witnessing the universe, you're participating in it. And every step you take in alignment sends ripples through the whole. You are not small, you are not separate, you are a living thread in the fabric of existence, and your awakening is not just for you. It's for everyone still asleep, waiting for someone to show them it's possible to wake up. So keep your eyes open, keep your heart soft, keep your spirit listening. The signs aren't leading you somewhere else. They're reminding you you're already home. You've stopped forcing your way through life. You don't push, grind, or hustle with the same desperate energy you once did. Not because you've given up, but because you've discovered a deeper source of movement. Action no longer comes from fear of falling behind. It flows from stillness, from clarity, from a quiet knowing that doesn't need to shout to be true. This is the sixth undeniable sign. Your doing has become an extension of your being. Before, you acted to prove your worth, to earn love, security, or validation. Every effort was laced with anxiety, every success shadowed by the question, is it enough? But now something has shifted. You move not to fill a void, but to express what's already full within you. Your work isn't a performance, it's a prayer. Your choices aren't reactions, they're reflections of your inner truth. You don't need external pressure to act. You don't need guilt, shame, or comparison to get things done. You act because it feels aligned, because it resonates, because it's the natural overflow of who you are becoming. And when you operate from this place, effort transforms into ease. Not laziness, flow. The kind of flow where time disappears, resistance dissolves, and you're no longer separate from what you're doing. You are the action. This is how awakened action works. It doesn't drain you. It reveals you. It doesn't exhaust you. It expresses you. You've stopped confusing busyness with purpose. You know now that true impact doesn't come from how much you do, but from how fully you show up. One honest conversation carries more power than 100 polished performances. One act of genuine kindness ripples further than 1,000 forced gestures. You're not trying to change the world through sheer will. You're letting the world change through you by staying rooted in your center. And here's the freedom no one prepared you for. You no longer need a reason to rest. Rest isn't earned, it's essential. It's not the reward after the grind. It's the ground from which true creation rises. You've learned that stillness isn't passive, it's potent. In the silence, your intuition sharpens, your vision clarifies, your next step reveals itself, not through frantic planning, but through patient presence. You trust the pause, you honor the breath, You respect the rhythm of your own energy. Because you've realized something radical. You are not here to dominate life. You're here to dance with it. And a dance can't be forced. It must be felt. It must be surrendered to. You don't control the music. You listen, and then you move. This is why your actions now carry a different weight. They're not burdened by expectation. They're lightened by trust. You don't cling to outcomes because you know your worth isn't tied to results. You show up fully, give your all, and release the rest. Not with indifference, but with faith. Faith that life is intelligent, that the universe supports what is true, that even if things don't unfold as you imagined, they're unfolding as they must. So you act, but without attachment. You create, but without control. You lead, but without ego. And in that space something extraordinary happens. Your actions become offerings, not obligations. They come from love, not lack, from wholeness, not hunger, and that changes everything, not just for you, but for everyone your energy touches. You are no longer a machine trying to produce value. You are a channel for something greater. So keep moving, but from stillness. Keep creating, but from peace. Keep living, but from truth, because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs your quiet certainty, your calm courage, your aligned action, and when you move from that place you don't just change your life, you help awaken the world. This isn't the end of your journey, it's the threshold. What you're experiencing right now, this deep stirring within you, isn't a phase to get through. It's a calling to step fully into who you were always meant to be. You've seen the signs, the crumbling of illusions, the depth of feeling, the bending of time, the death of the false self, the web of synchronicity, the rise of action born from stillness. And if you recognize even one of these, know this: you are not drifting. You are being drawn. Awakening isn't a destination you reach and then check off your list. It's a continuous unfolding, a daily choice to stay present, to stay honest, to stay open, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, because the moment you think you've arrived, the ego sneaks back in, dressed in spiritual clothing, whispering, "Look how awake you are." But true awakening has no finish line. It only asks one thing: will you keep showing up as you are? And that's where your power lives. Not in perfection, but in presence. Not in having all the answers, but in holding the questions with grace. You don't need to have it all figured out to move forward. You only need to trust the next right step. The one that feels true in your bones, even if it makes no sense to the world. This path won't always be applauded. Sometimes it will feel lonely. Sometimes it will feel like you're walking in the dark with no map. But here's what the darkness won't tell you. You're not lost. You're being refined. Every moment of uncertainty is sculpting your clarity. Every moment of surrender is strengthening your trust. You're not falling behind. You're being prepared, and the world needs what's being forged in you. Not the polished version, not the curated highlight, but the raw, real, unfiltered truth of your awakened heart. Because your light doesn't just heal you. It gives others permission to wake up too. When you choose authenticity over approval, stillness over speed, love over fear, you become a living invitation. A quiet revolution. So don't shrink back because the path feels unfamiliar. Don't silence your truth because it doesn't fit the old narrative. This discomfort you feel, it's the friction of transformation. And it's sacred. It means you're no longer willing to betray yourself for the sake of comfort. You'd rather stand alone in your truth than sit comfortably in a lie. That's not arrogance, that's integrity. And integrity is the highest form of courage in a world that rewards conformity. You are not here to repeat the past. You are here to reimagine the future, not just for yourself, but for everyone who will follow your footsteps. Your awakening is not selfish, it's service. Every time you choose peace over panic, clarity over chaos, love over judgment, you shift the collective field. You prove that another way is possible, so keep going. Even when doubt whispers, even when fear flares, even when the world tries to pull you back into sleep, because what's rising in you isn't just personal, it's planetary. Your awakening is part of a greater tide, a global remembering, and you are not late, you are right on time. This moment, this breath, is your altar, this choice, this act of showing up, is your offering. You are not broken, you are becoming. And the world is waiting, not for a perfect hero, but for a real human being who dares to live from the truth they've uncovered within. So stand in it, speak from it, live through it. Because you are the eternal universe expressing itself as a temporary human being, and right now that expression is needed more than ever. Keep going, your light matters, your presence changes everything.